What do you want to show this week, Keith?
That I'm healthy. I played a little banged up last year. We just show that I'm healthy. I can move. I'm versatile, and just overall, I'm a good guy. During the interview process, just letting this scouts know who I really am, on and off the field.
What was it like you physically last year to be ready to play and
It was a little mentally frustrating, but you gotta do what you gotta do for your team, and just be there and be ready at all times. But I stayed in the training room just trying to get back as healthy as I can be to get on the field. But it was mentally frustrating, but I learned a lot from it. On the field, they're getting a true competitor. Guys don't show up every day and be ready to work. A defensive lineman that's hungry, that's going to stop the run, rush the passer, and make plays, and make a lot of plays. Off the field, a leader, a guy who's about his business, and a guy who loves football and loves to compete and wants to win. I want to win the Super Bowl. So.
We've seen it helping Keith Randolph on the football field.
Yeah.
What's making it happen? What does that look like?
A guy who's going to make play after play, a guy who's versatile, and a dominant defensive lineman. Not a defensive tackle, not a defensive end, but a defensive lineman who can play all down the line of scrimmage. You can line me up a nose guard, I'm going to make a play. 3-tech, I'm going to make a play. 5-tech, I'm going to make a play. 4, I'll make a play, wherever you want to put me. So, I know what I can do, and my tape speaks for itself, honestly. So, watch the tape. So.
We are talking about Keith Randolph Jr. today. Obviously, that was him with some of his highlights and him speaking from the combine, obviously addressing the injury that was a concern, the ankle injury, which took him from being a day 3 prospect to an undrafted free agent that the Bears snagged. Obviously, a local Belleville native, played basketball, two-sport athlete. I like those two-sport athletes, but for him, it hasn't really translated to that agility. It hasn't made him. That's his big glaring weakness. Good size, okay speed and explosion. He's okay on those. But really his big weakness is his agility. He can't get lateral, and he has a hard time chasing guys down from behind. So he's not going to be your 3-tech. He's not going to be your pressure creator. He's not going to be the guy that gets in there on every play. But he can be a true nose tackle, which is what we're really missing on this team. Obviously we have Andrew Billings, but behind Billings, that's the big glaring weakness is the depth chart. We've already showed it on here over and over and over again, but really it is the glaring weakness that hasn't been addressed. A lot of people are talking about defensive end, but really with the addition of Jacob Martin, which I've made a couple of videos lately, and I hope people are starting to realize he puts a lot of pressure on, and he really is that Yannick Ngakoue quality of player that has a lot of good moves that can create pressure, and Austin Booker being a rookie, those really take care of the edge position as far as having a front 4. Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, quality starters. Obviously, we can improve, and next year's probably going to be the time that we do that in the first, second round-ish. But in the inside, you've got Andrew Billings, who had a career year. I don't think it's talked about enough. Andrew Billings is really a nice staple for the interior of this offense. And Gervon Dexter has a lot of potential to be a true 3 technique, put his nose down, bull rush, get in there, create pressure, but it's not proven yet. Same with Zach Pickens. He came on at the end of last year, really did a lot better. His PFF grade improved a lot because he was a lot better at containing, a lot better of doing his job, not necessarily a ton of pressures, but did his job well, stuffed the holes. I don't see him as a true nose tackle. I don't see him as a true 3 technique. Zach Pickens, to me, is going to be a solid backup rotational player that eventually we replace. I know a lot of people don't love to hear that stuff, but that's really how I see Zach Pickens, but I see him doing his job well. But we still don't have that 4th defensive interior guy. Now, we've picked up, Michael Dwumfor's been on the team. We've picked up Deshaun Mallory and Keith Randolph in undrafted free agency. We picked up Byron Cowart in the offseason, but nothing that really screams excitement. But then you look at Keith Randolph, and there really is some potential there. You see, this is his 2022. He played the full season this year, and he did very well. 80.9 PFF grade overall on defense. And if you look at his pass rushes, third line over from the stats, 278 total pass rushes. He had 28 pressures. For a defensive interior, that's pretty solid. That's pretty solid on his part. Well, the difference is this last year, He got injured and had a lingering ankle injury. And they even said that he potentially was playing through a couple games before he took the time off. You look on the far left, those are the weeks of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you see the gap there, 7, 8, 9, gone. He had to come out. He was done for a little bit because of that ankle injury. They thought it might be season ending. It wasn't. He came and played through it. Did fairly well, really playing through it, but you can see the pressures were completely gone after that. Look at week 10, 11, 12, 13. 0 pressures, 2 pressures, 1 pressure, 0 pressure. And look over at the missed tackling. All season his missed tackling was down a little bit. How much of that went into him missing time, nobody really knows, but he said he was trying to do what was best for the team. He said he played through it because the team comes first. So that unselfish attitude really helped him, but it went from 2022, before the season started in 23, he went from being a mid-day 3 pick. A lot of places had him round 5, 6 before the season started. Some had him as high as round 4. But really, by the time the season ended, he was a round 7 prospect / undrafted free agent prospect, which ended up happening. That was too much for some teams. The lack of production, the low pressure rate. You can see this second year, 13 pressures in 275 pressure opportunities, pass rushes. And so almost half as good as the year before. Plus his missed tackling went from 7%, which is one of his big attributes. It's one of the things that he's good at, and doubled up to 15%. So that's the difficulty here, is how much can be overcome from that, how much of it's coaching, because his knocks on him is his inability to change direction, to be able to be a lateral mover, to be able to adjust at the NFL level. It's going to be quicker than it was in college. So for him to read something in the hole, you see what happened last year with Zach Pickens and with Gervon Dexter, and you see how hard it is for them to adjust. And they did a good job, and I'm happy with their progress. But we have a really young defensive interior core, which is why it would have been kind of nice for us to go after a Christian Wilkins, to have some established depth here. That's not the path we went, and you can't go backwards. But really, the Bears have a lot of potential, and that's what this is. This is a potential signing. A lot of really untapped potential, because he had a really good 2022, but how bad was that ankle injury? Obviously, it looks like it's cleared up because the combine, we don't see their medicals though, but he's got a lot of good attributes. Good size, decent speed and explosion. Decent, not great, but how much will he benefit from working with Eric Washington? Well, this is why I think he's going to get an opportunity to get more snaps than probably any other undrafted free agent. So this is what we had before the draft. This is the graphic that I kept showing you guys. We had the 4 picks. We had 2 clear needs in quarterback and wide receiver, and then 2 in-between starter and depth needs in Larry Borum and Dominique Robinson. And then depth piece needs, we have defensive interior, guard, tight end, and center. Well, and this is what ended up happening in the draft. You can see where it was addressed. Obviously, we took Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Kieran Amagaji, Torrey Taylor, and Austin Booker, because we traded back into the draft, those 5. So on the left side, the biggest needs, I didn't even have punter on here. I don't think any of us really realized how deep we needed a punter and a generational punter. So good job, Ryan Poles. We appreciate what you're doing. But on the left side, those were all addressed right there. Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Kieran Amagaji, Austin Booker, Torrey Taylor. They hit the starter needs. The depth piece needs, you can see we addressed Ryan Bates, and then center I put in a little bit of a pink color because it was kind of addressed, but if Nate Davis doesn't work out, do we really have depth there? We've either got Shelton or Bates, and the best 5 will play, and who that's going to be remains to be seen. Coleman Shelton has the experience, but Ryan Bates is someone that, he has 2 years left on his contract, so it makes sense to really put him in there with Caleb Williams. But what wasn't addressed at all was defensive interior. We got Byron Cowart, but that doesn't address it. He's really not a piece that you go into the season saying, yep, this is a quality player that we can expect to be in there. If Gervon Dexter gets hurt or if Andrew Billings gets hurt, we are comfortable with this. You don't feel good with that right now. So it was unaddressed. Mercedes Lewis filled that tight end role, which is kind of what we expected to have happen. But here we are, and you're going to have those guys rotating. You have to have a 4th player on the team. So could that be Keith Randolph Jr.? It's looking like it. It's looking like he's going to get the lion's share, and we're really running into the season with him as the 4th defensive interior, which makes us one of the weakest defensive interiors in the league. So you can kind of understand where they have us ranked so low, but there's a lot of untapped potential there. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how this pans out, but there's a lot of upside here, and I hope he can pan out and be that guy that really lines up 1-2 with Andrew Billings and comes in and helps disrupt the ball.
Harris back to throw. The pocket collapsing, and there is the first sack of the day. Keith Randolph Jr.
The Wildcat sniffing it out, Keith Randolph. Seth Coleman, who has a sack, gets some more run. Coleman is in there. And Armstrong is dropped again. Been forever yet again.
There he is, the interior part of that defensive line. And he had
Armstrong is sacked. Fourth of the game. It's Keith Randolph. On 3rd and 11. Petrus pressured and sacked.
Devin Maccabee behind him, gets the carry, thrown down behind the line.
See if they can get pressure with the front four.
They bring it, and there it is. Arrives right in time. Keith Randolph.
With his hands, and that's what you have to be able to do. Really comes underneath just to...
the country, but again, first he gets the penetration and then he finishes. Watch the finish. You got a looper. He came around on a
Dabears.